There you go. I
right?
tell them that all the time. I'm like, when we get your score up, I need you to go to your insurance agent and get it readjusted.
Wait, go to who?
Oh, Edward.
Right, that's what I thought.
Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't wasn't sure if my mic was my headphones.
working great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, goodness.
See. I'm double checking, making sure we're successfully live. We are live, so we'll go ahead and get started. Oh, let me update the title. Sorry, I should have done that before. Allie, you gotta buy me time, buy me time.
Buy you time. All right. So we're going to take an insider's look on AI and how it works. So not just with Credit Score Pro, but with just AI in general. So it's going to be kind of a fun dive into that. So I'm looking forward to Ivory pulling up our slides. So I have my cheat notes.
I'm doing it now.
Got you. Who
Oh,
else
I
is on
gotta share my
here? Is
screen.
that Corby?
Yeah, I'm gonna turn off the
Yes, can you hear me? Sorry about that.
Yes. Nice to meet you. I'm Allie. How are you today?
Good, good. I'm still trying to work on my camera here. One second.
You're fine.
Oh,
Ivory's
you are
working
fine.
technical difficulties as well.
Apparently
So
I'm on the struggle bus train today. Okay.
Ellie, I just connected with you on LinkedIn.
oh, perfect. Perfect. Thank
So
you.
You're in Dayton?
Well, might have a corporate office in Dayton. I'm currently sitting in Florida.
What? Get out of here.
Yeah, so I'm
Okay,
not
let's
snow,
see.
well, I'm
Man.
snowbirding while you
Where
guys are snow buried.
where where in Florida are you?
I'm in South East Florida, so I'm right on the Gulf Coast.
Yeah, we're going down to Clearwater in a couple weeks. I got
South
to get
West
out of
Florida.
here for a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, do you see
Really
presenter
good.
view or do you see the normal view?
I see normal view.
Okay, cool.
That's not what I want
Yeah,
to see. I want to see
yeah,
present.
Allie's lucky to not have to deal with all the snow that and ice we're dealing with here, which is part of the setup issues today, trying to set it all up from home. So thank you for bearing with me. Okay. Well, some people
Ivory,
join us here on the
before you
yeah,
start, can you put me on presenter view? I'm on regular view.
on what view? Oh, yeah.
Presenter view, yes. Thank you.
You're your co-host now.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you for that too.
Sorry about that. Okay,
Oh,
so
it didn't work. Didn't work.
what are you trying to get me to?
So we have
Oh,
like
yeah.
your note, the note section and stuff, and
Oh,
we're
that's what
seeing.
I was asking, is if it's showing you presenter view or not.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm when you say presenter view, I'm thinking like when you're displaying it for us as an audience. But
Okay, now try. What do you see now?
same thing. Oh no, here we go. We're good.
Okay,
Perfect.
just a delay.
Perfect.
Okay, perfect. So we'll go ahead and dive into everything. So we've got things going on Zoom. We've also got YouTube and then Facebook. So thank you for dealing with me with the abnormal setup from home as we're dealing with some ice storms here in the Northwest. And I think most of the country is dealing with some sort of crazy weather variances today. So yeah.
Yes, I am too. It's cloudy.
Oh, geez. Wow. Florida. Hard living there.
I'm gonna hang up again if you make another one of those
I
wisecracks,
hear you.
Ellie.
Okay. I'm taking note. I'm taking note. Gotcha.
We'll start by introducing ourselves. So my name's Ivory Becker. I'm co-founder of Credit Score Pro, and I'll let Allie, of course, introduce herself as well. My background is in credit repair and credit education, also in regulatory compliance. So a lot of really fun things, a lot of reading, a lot of looking at laws and regulations, really anything regarding credit and default, and then a little bit of lending as well has been my area of play for the last, we'll just say 15-ish years at this point. A little bit more than that, but I haven't updated the slide.
Wow. And my name's Alicia Alt. I often go by Allie, so I confuse people, but I am 20 years in the industry of lending, credit repair. I spent a lot of my time now developing software for the credit industry, so to make it easier and more efficient. And I think we're going to talk a lot about that today in terms of this new generation of AI and what we bring to the table with that.
Okay, so why are we here today? Well, today's topic is really focused around AI and how AI is changing the financial services industry as a whole. Um, we're starting to see this big transition into AI. I think if you turn on the news or you turn on your computer and you search anything, one of the main things that shows up on your screen is AI, right? We got ChatGPT is kind of the start of it all, and it's really been expanding and growing since then. So I wanted to start by going into what is AI first. So AI is the area of computer science that really looks at the creation of using the machines to do work for us. I think that's the simplest way to put it, right? We're using algorithms that can help to interpret information and make predictions based on that information. It's great at identifying patterns as well. And then machine learning is the use of the data and the algorithms to imitate the way humans learn. So that allows for a continued improvement and continued accuracy as the machines learn over time. Allie, this is really your domain. So if there's anything you'd like to add, let me know.
No, but I love the picture, and it's a little scary sometimes when we think about AI, right, and all that it's able to do. But there are so many benefits in AI that, our software, for instance, we'll talk about later, really uncovers. But AI is definitely being used widespread. So I love that we're doing this webinar because people need to know, and people need to be using it to their advantage. And so we'll talk more about that here later. But yeah, AI.
So where we're starting to see AI utilized more is within banking quite a bit. So in credit risk management, originally we've always had just humans sitting at the computer analyzing the data, figuring out what's going on, lots of Excel sheets, right? Now we have machines that are actually able to use the algorithms to assess credit worthiness, create those predictive models, identify fraud more accurately and quickly, and the automation makes things happen like that. And it's also great for compliance too. I think that's been huge. It's reducing operational risks, improving accuracy, and speeding up decision making. And when we talk about the speeding up of decision making, if we look at processes like lending, all of a sudden we take a process where we gather documents from the consumer. We have a processor that looks at those documents, makes sure we have the right documents, make sure we're not missing pages, sends those documents to underwriting. I mean, we're talking how many days and sometimes weeks before that whole process is done. In our most efficient processes, maybe you have great processors, you have great underwriters who can do things more quickly. But with automated lending decisions, that process is now 30 to 60 seconds. There's now software where your client just uploads your documents, they're automatically analyzed, determined if they're authentic or not, and all of a sudden, your file's ready. And Allie, did you have anything I know you've talked a bit about automated decision making in the past.
Yeah, I was just going to elaborate on that. I know one particular bank that is using it widespread. They are using the AI automated underwriting process within their bank on a certain product that they're really testing it out to see is the risk level really reduced by doing that. And how is the trends for that person paying their payments and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're really analyzing that right now. But what they found so far is it's very good at what it's doing.
Yeah, and Experian has even introduced a software that essentially smaller to mid-sized companies can use. Because one of the biggest barriers has been cost and being able to develop that type of software. When you think about the price point of it, but the actual development, I think they were averaging about 9 to 11 months just to develop it, let alone integrate it within a corporation. When that corporation had a big financial backing. So that's the fastest process you would see. So.
And I was told too, with this particular bank, is that one of the things they also learned was they would have their underwriter look at it and they would have the AI do it. And there were times when the underwriter would deny the loan, but the AI would approve it. And so that was really interesting to them. And that's where they wanted to see the trends. Like, is this person, are we going into a more higher risk with this, or are they going to pay their payments on time? And so they've been using it for a little while. And so far they're seeing, like I said before, they see hey, this is great results. We're actually doing loans for people we wouldn't have done through our traditional underwriting.
And I think that's a great segue too, because we've been seeing the introduction of AI in score modeling. So there's new credit score modeling that's being introduced, not yet widely used, but it's looking at other factors outside of what our traditional credit score model looks at, like income level, potential to learn, and employment opportunities, which is a really interesting additive, saying, well, this person, this individual has such a high long-term potential that even if they don't have enough data points here, it may make sense to allow them to borrow because of these data points here. So it will be interesting to see how things unfold and expand from here. Okay, so why are we here? We want to also shift and look at if these AI models are starting to be used within financial services, on the banking side, on the lending side, it's being used to essentially rank that consumer and determine whether that consumer is creditworthy, right? We also want to have tools available on the consumer side to help that consumer fit that criteria that is needed to get them approved. And before we dive into what that looks like, we wanted to start by talking about the problem with traditional credit repair providers. And Allie, you're passionate about this, so I'm going to let you take it away.
All right. So I feel bad to be passionate about it because, I've been the traditional credit repair expert for 20 plus years, right? But
Same.
where we're at now, though, with technology being able to do a lot of the work for us, and with AI being able to learn this, and quite frankly, and I'll show you later why I say this, it's better than me. Even though I have extensive experience and I am a credit expert, it's fine. It can find things that I can't see, or maybe it's not that I can't see it because I can, and I'll tell you about that later, but I don't want to, and I'm not going to. And so you'll see why here in a few minutes. But if you're not doing it with AI, and credit repair companies can't, or aren't, and they're doing traditional credit repair, first of all, the cost is high, right? So, because an individual person has to sit down and, if you wanted me to read, for instance, a raw data credit report, you're going to pay me a couple $1,000s to do that. I mean, seriously, you are, because that's a very time consuming process. And then you're the only person I can work on for a while, right? And so the cost is high to do really good, effective credit repair. There's lack of transparency and communication. So a lot of clients are left in the dark of like, what are they actually doing? Are they really helping me? Or, are they just taking my money? A lot of traditional credit repairers do a one size fits all approach, meaning that, they're looking at the credit report, and a lot of them are just like dispute engines. They're just trying to dispute as much as they possibly can, get things removed or whatever. But it truly is not going to fix the problem, right? So what I call a lot of traditional credit repair companies is fake credit scoring. So they're basically trying to mask the issue and not fix the issue. And so are we really lending to someone who's qualified? Are we lending to someone who's unqualified, but it appears to be qualified because of traditional credit repair approaches? Obviously, with traditional credit repair, it's time consuming. I know anybody who's been in the process, or has sent someone to a traditional credit repair expert, it takes time. It's a process. Dependency on the service, that's where, clients are dependent on the service. They can't really think for themselves. They're not managing their own credit. And that's where I call it the fake credit repair, right? We didn't fix the damage. We fixed the damage, masked it, but we didn't actually fix the problem. Misleading or unrealistic promises. And I know you guys have heard that because it's all over social media. Like, I'm going to fix your credit in 30 days, and all this, and that people fall into, or just even misinformation about how credit works. And that's really widespread. And that's where I get really passionate. There's a lot of misinformation. So that impact on, credit education, people are being told things that aren't true. And a lot of credit repair companies, unfortunately, are not credit experts. They fell into this position somehow, some way, and they learned how to do disputes really good. But then they're providing other educational things on credit that oftentimes, unfortunately, is wrong. And I would not say that they're saying it to mislead. They truly just think that that's right. I always say credit repair is not common sense. And so, and I can go on and on about different examples of that. But when you when you don't know and you're thinking as a credit repair specialist that your credit's common sense, oftentimes you're going to mislead people. And so those are like the primary reasons why there's problems with that traditional credit repair industry. There's also not a lot of, there's no regulation in terms of, you know, you don't have to get a license like a loan officer does or a real estate agent. You know, you have to take classes for it. Those are not requirements for that. And so that lack of that being able to vetting of these people is also an issue.
Right, right. And just to build on that, it's difficult for the consumer or even a professional who's looking to partner with a credit specialist to find someone to trust when there's such a low barrier of entry and the industry doesn't demand a higher standard from those within the industry. It the problem persists, it continues, and it doesn't improve. So although we both have been in the traditional industry and are in the traditional industry, we recognize the problems that exist with it. And we do want to make sure we're creating solutions that are accessible to everyone, whether that's on the professional side or the consumer side. And as Ali had mentioned, there is a massive knowledge gap when it comes to credit repair services. Many of those services do excel on the removal of negative information because of repetition. They've found what has worked. They may not necessarily, in some cases, understand why it's worked. Unfortunately, some do, of course. There are good people out there. Let's be very clear. But one of the troubles is when it comes to improving credit, it's not all about removing negative information. That's just a piece of the pie. There are many aspects that make up the credit score, and that limited understanding makes for a problem for the consumer, because if an average consumer, let's say, has 10 items on their credit report that are negative and no open accounts, once all 10 are removed, that client all of a sudden has no credit score. Are they really better off now? Or let's say their scores move up to the mid 600s, when if they had the proper education on how credit works, they could be in the 700s, right? So there's a big gap in the credit repair industry as a whole when it comes to knowledge of credit itself and how the algorithms function. And another drawback is even if you have a really great credit repair company, the inability to read a raw credit file still exists. A raw data credit file. That's a tongue twister for me. And this is the information that's reported to the bureaus on the back end. Ali has spent a lot of time reading those files to develop the software.
Yeah. Do you mind if I speak on this? I look at that
absolutely.
little snippet of a raw data credit report, and if you guys can see just the little piece of that. So just to give you a little bit of background, I've developed software and I have had to learn how to decode a raw data credit report. And so, for instance, to give you a quick example, and if you've heard any of my other lives, you've heard the same thing over and over again. But if, let's say, you have a 10-page credit report, so you're looking at a credit report that's 10 pages, what you're looking at is what the vendor of that report you got it from decided to let you see. Okay, they decoded the part of the raw data credit report, gave you the information they decided to let you see. And that goes for any vendor. So if you're a mortgage credit report, that vendor who's producing that is giving you the information they want you to see. The raw data is much more complex. It has a lot of information in it. The reason it's important to read a raw data, especially if we're doing credit repair, is that we need to be able to see even those little minor errors that are in the raw data so that we can get negative information removed from the credit report, because the credit report has to be accurate in every sense of the way, but it's not. So it gives us a good, what's the word I'm looking for? It gives us the positioning to get things off the credit report that are negative, that aren't reporting accurately, right? Because we have that back end raw data. And so, like I said before, if you have a 10-page document, a credit report, it's oftentimes on the background when we're looking at the raw data. If I actually print out the sheets, which I've had to do, and I really don't like it, so I get nightmares when I see this, but it's probably 500 pages long. And so there's a lot of information in there. And that's why I was saying earlier about how AI is better than me, in the sense that it's going to analyze that stuff within seconds. and produce the results that we need and know what we need to dispute, why we need to dispute it, what other things we need to do to improve and enhance credit. Whereas if you wanted me to do that for you and really be a true expert on your credit by looking at that, you're going to have to pay me a lot. You're going to have to pay me a lot of money to do that, right? So we're going to go into that. But yeah, the raw data credit report is being read by that AI. So it takes seconds to analyze that and find out what are the issues and be able to produce an outcome for that.
And one of the main benefits of being able to use AI is the consumer no longer has to be that expert, nor does the consumer have to find a trustworthy expert. They don't have to understand the Fair Credit Reporting Act, right? They don't have to read hundreds of pages of laws and regulations when it comes to their consumer protections. They don't even have to know how to read the credit report from whatever credit monitoring company they're using or the report that their mortgage lender gets. They don't even need to know how to dispute an account on their credit report. They don't even need to know how to file a dispute or where to go to file a dispute. If you've ever looked into credit disputing on social media, there is a lot of conflicting information on where to go to file disputes, which is why I bring that up. For any consumer who is looking, it can be very confusing because they're hearing to call, fax, mail, they're hearing all this conflicting information. And they don't even need to know how to prioritize the different behaviors that are going to influence their score the most. And the reason why is because the AI is going to do all of it for them. So AI is an all-in-one repair and management solution. So when we look at the industry surrounding credit in general, it's very segmented, right? You have a resource that can help you with monitoring your credit, and maybe that resource has some identity theft protection built into it, but you might have to get a different resource for that. You may have to go to a different resource to learn how to build credit, usually many different resources to build credit. There's not really one platform for that. When it comes to disputing, you may have to hire someone. You may not know what dispute software to use. When it comes to financial literacy, well, we know there's an absence of that, so good luck finding a great solution there. But all of a sudden, you're left with all these different applications and websites and resources, and it's overwhelming for the average person. With an AI solution, it can be an all-in-one platform where you're not only starting by how do I establish and build credit, or how do I fix my credit if there's damage, but then how do I maintain a good credit score long term, and how do I make sure how I'm utilizing my credit will help me to achieve my goals, like buying a home. And with an AI platform like what we'll be sharing in a little bit, there is 24/7 availability. So one of the biggest complaints we hear quite a bit from consumers who do hire credit repair companies is it's difficult to reach their representative. They may only work an 8-hour day, 5 days a week, or maybe they don't have a specific individual that they can reach out to and get their questions answered. Or maybe they're working with a company that doesn't have that understanding of how credit scoring works. They just know how to delete information off reports, which means they really have no sounding board for the decisions that they need to make. AI can help with making those everyday financial decisions, and it's all goal-based as well. It has the automated alerts, automated reminders, interactive experience, and progress tracking for the consumer. So it's really that all-in-one, as I had mentioned. I don't know if there's anything you want to add there, Allie.
I think you did great.
Time saving. So I think this speaks for itself, right? We already talked about how time saving AI is. It's really a no-brainer. Obviously, computers work faster than our brains. We're not there yet. So when it comes to the time-saving component, it removes not only one, it's instantaneous, but it also removes that back and forth between the consumer and the credit repair company. It removes the potential of misinformation going back and forth as well. There's real-time credit monitoring, instant dispute generation, right? You can see everything there on the computer. And at the same time, the AI is machine learning as well, right? So it's going to adapt over time and automatically create strategy adjustments. So let's look at exactly how that's going to work. So again, we're simplifying the credit repair and credit management process with AI. So Allie, let's talk back and forth here because I know you're going to have a ton you want to say about this too. The way the process works with Credit Score Pro, which is the software that we have developed, is step one is the analysis, right? We want to import the credit reports from the 3 credit bureaus, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. This does not result in a hard inquiry because we're using credit monitoring provider. AI is going to then analyze that raw data credit file that Allie loves reading. And it's going to
Is that the back and forth you want, the laughing?
Yeah, there we go. It then converts that credit report into a digital ledger, and it analyzes every single account across the 3 bureaus. So it's analyzing those accounts independently, but also comparing them with one another as well. It also understands the type of account. The reason that's important is we want to know the difference between what type of account is a collection account, what type of account is an auto loan, what's maybe a student loan, etc. Right? It needs to understand the intricacies of each account, how those accounts are supposed to function, and how they're supposed to show on a credit report. So that way it can make the proper type of dispute based on the laws and regulations around credit reporting. And then it runs all these different algorithms, thousands of algorithms to look for all sorts of different errors. And just a few of those errors are listed on the screen. So late payment errors, balance errors. So a couple examples would be, do we see late payments mismatching across the months? Do we see differences in balances? Are there differences in payment statuses, right? Duplicate accounts, re-aged accounts. I mean, there's all sorts of things that the system is going to be looking at. So step number 2 is the disputes. And this is actually a screenshot from the system. We wanted to show you what the inside of the system looks like. It's very easy to use. So the consumer is essentially going to click a button to import their credit report. It should be automatically imported after their second report. But when they initially set it up, they'll click a button. From there, they're going to choose which accounts they would like to dispute, right? That's really the only user input, if you will, is just that determining these are the accounts I want AI to look at. AI is going to have things flagged already as negative or positive. Ideally, the consumer is going to know, hey, if it's a negative account, I'd like AI to look at that and determine what issues exist on my credit report. So it's running those thousands of algorithms we talked about. And then AI is automatically going to select the best dispute reason. So you'll see in this image here, it says suggested. The consumer themselves can choose to type something else if they'd want. That dropdown also will have the option of fraud. There's no way for the AI to know if an account was opened in your name without your knowledge. So in that case, it would be up to the consumer to select that option. So AI is essentially providing that dispute strategy, and it remembers all prior disputes, not just for that individual consumer, but for every other user of that platform. So because it has remembered the disputes, it's seen the results of the disputes, it's able to continually analyze what is the most successful type of dispute for this given scenario. And then not every account has an error. In that case, it takes a step further and just requests verification on the account, which is a consumer's right. It then creates the dispute letter automatically for the consumer. The consumer then has the option to either send in the dispute themselves so they can print it, email it, mail it, or they can just click a button and our system will send the dispute on their behalf. So, did I miss anything?
No, you didn't. I wanted to just elaborate a little bit on that. So, like Avery said, when you set up your credit monitoring, it's going to Credit Score Pro is going to pull in that credit report. It's going to analyze it. And then once it analyzes that, they're going to have a button that says create dispute letter. So you'll click that button that she was talking about, and then it's going to then populate all the things that are negative on your credit report. Okay. So it's going to set this aside what's positive. You can see that in the sidebar, but it's really going to put front and center to the consumer what is negative. The consumer absolutely 100%, like Ivory said, has full control. So, and that is important to us when we're looking at developing software is like, we want the consumer to be in control because maybe there's an account they don't want to dispute for some reason. I can't think of an example right now, but maybe there's something that they don't want to dispute. They have the option to click on the ones that they want to dispute. And once they've selected those, they would hit next. And when they hit next, that's when you're going to get to the screen that you see the little snapshot of where it has a suggested reason. Now, what Ivory didn't say that I like to say to clients when I'm instructing them about this is AI, remember, it's powerful. This is very effective to getting the negative things off the credit report. So I really highly suggest to my consumers that we use the suggested AI reason, unless, like what Ivory was talking about, is that if it's a fraud account, like it's truly not your account, someone is fraud, whatever, you have a police report, that's where you would drop down that arrow button to select fraud. There's also other different drop downs that you can select, and you can do a customized reason if you want, but I highly suggest consumers don't do that because now they're playing with, do they know the law? And do you know what they say, right? Because you could say the wrong thing. And when the credit bureaus get that information, that they store that information too. So everything we send, we store. Everything they get, they store. Store. Say right?
Yep,
store,
you got it.
whatever, one of those words. They're going to have that data too. So we don't want to create a dispute reason that wouldn't be helpful in the situation of getting the negative I guess is the best way that I could say it. So I do just want to say I highly recommend using a suggested reason. Then you don't have to think anyway, right? Like that's part of the whole process is don't have to think, and it's going to really work and do the job for you.
One of the great things about the disputes as well is the success rate is higher than the average credit repair company. So when it comes to success, the consumer is likely to see quite a bit more items removed off their credit report than if they hired a professional. Certainly more than if they were doing it themselves without the assistance of the AI.
And I'm just going to chime in on that for just 1 second. So
Sure.
because obviously we're doing a lot of research on the software and how it's working for individuals. So I talked to a lot of my consumers about it. But I had one recently, he had a late on his mortgage, right? And it had foreclosure on the bottom of it, like a notation of foreclosure. And Credit Score Pro got that off of his credit report for him. And he called me crying because he finally felt like he was valid, is what those are the words he used. I finally feel like I'm valid. And it kind of shocked me because I think we all should think we're valid regardless of what our credit scores and our reports say. But it's true that a lot of people feel they kind of put themselves in that's who I am, right? So with that ding on his credit report, it really affected him. But I was actually like super impressed that it got it off because I'm going to tell you, I've been doing this for 20 plus years. And if I have a 30, 60, 90, 120 foreclosure proceeding started, that is almost impossible to get off the credit report.
Right.
And AI did it. So it just shows that it's learning and it's figuring things out. It's pretty impressive.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when we connect the dispute side with the action plan, that's where we're really surpassing what's even out there right now. Because we talked earlier how important it is to go beyond just removing negative information from the report. And that's what the action plan does. So the great thing about the action plan, and just jump in, just stop me if you want, Allie, but one of the great things about the action plan is it has the option to choose your goal. So the user of Credit Score Pro is able to choose the goal, let's say buying a house. And then the action plan is going to be built off of the credit score model used in mortgage lending. Not the model used in auto lending, not the model used in credit card decisioning, the one that a mortgage lender would see. And that's so pivotal because there's so many tools out there now that don't affect this older version of credit scoring, right? So when it comes to the action plan, it's very targeted based on that goal, and it's continuing to update. Allie, I'll let you go into the details of that more, just because I know that's your baby.
Yeah, yeah. This, we like to say that Credit Score Pro allows us to be above and beyond disputes. And
Mhm.
it's so important. And this is where I think the biggest, if we're looking at traditional credit repair versus, using AI, this is the piece that really sets it apart, like Ivory said, because there is nobody else that has this available software, right? And so what happens is the action plan is going to read that raw data credit report, base it off of whatever that goal is that the consumer has, and then it's going to produce a very clear outline plan of what the consumer needs to do. And the really cool part about it is we hear people all the time talk about, oh, I want to learn more about how credit works, right? So they're going to social media and getting the wrong information, or going somewhere trying to find that information and likely getting the wrong information. But as the plan is created and you get the information for you're learning, why did, I did this and now my credit score improved, right? So now I know this is what I need to do. And then of course we have on top of that, inside of the system, we have our learning portal, which has got videos of just about everything you can think of about credit and how it works. So they're really inundated with just a lot of information that helps them not just fake credit repair, not just fake credit scores, if you will. They're
Mhm.
really, truly changing habits, learning how this works, and being able to be in a position to be a low risk borrower and get the things that they need. Yes, this is my favorite. This is my baby right here. I love it.
So, and even if somebody has no negative information on their credit report, like with the action plan we have showing on the side here, you can see there's still opportunities for score improvement. I mean, these are excellent credit scores, and the model is still able to find opportunity for score boosts regardless of that. So, this portion of the AI is really geared towards maintaining a high credit score long term. There are people that become credit invisible because they're not using credit. This would be aimed to help that person prevent themselves from becoming credit invisible, right? Beyond many, many other pieces. Now, Allie, can you share with us a little bit why this is so very different from what mortgage loan officers have access to with a simulator tool or a wayfinder tool, or even what a lot of credit monitoring platforms have when it comes to their simulator tools?
Yeah, I mean, the best way that I can describe this is really a tailored action plan. It's not a simulator. It's not saying, oh, if you do this, maybe this will happen. It's saying, hey, this based on the algorithm, this is what you need to do. Do
Mhm.
these things, right? But I have a story that I like to tell about Wayfinder, and this is a brand new story. I have a bunch of them, but this has just happened recently, so it's like top of mind right now. But I have, I work with a lot of loan officers, and they run Wayfinder because it's available to them, right? And so why not? So this particular loan officer, he will CC me with the client that he wants me to help, and he sends me the Wayfinder report. And I get on the call with this consumer, and she looked at the Wayfinder report and she thought it was gold and that she needed to do everything it said. And I was really glad we got on the phone before she started implementing it, because one of the things, for instance, that it said, she had a student loan on her credit report that she owed a balance of $215. That's her monthly payment. So she's obligated to make a $215 payment to the student loan. If she does not make the $215 payment, it's going to be a 30-day late on her credit report. Wayfinder told her, we believe that if you pay $115 rather than $215 on your student loan, it would improve your credit report. There's two problems with this. Number one, that's going to produce a 30-day late on her credit report, which then will drop her credit score. But the other secondary problem to that is there's no data behind there. There's no algorithm ever in the credit bureau system that says by paying less on a student loan, you improve the credit score. There's nothing there about that. So it actually didn't make any sense to have that recommendation in there at all. She just should make her $215 payment, period. And that's some of the things that I see, or I see loan officers will send me ones that say, there's no hope.
Right.
And that's my favorite, because it's like, yes, there is. There's never no hope. Like, yes, there is. But Wayfinder will sometimes say, there's nothing we can suggest to do. And
Yeah, and it's
yeah.
limited, right? The Wayfinder is limited on what it can look at, where this is also looking at what's not in this credit profile that could be that would
Yes.
help the scores.
Yeah, exactly. So you're exactly right. So if it came back and there was, quote, no hope, Credit Score Pro will find that hope for that person. Let's just put it that way. There's going to be a plan in store for that person to build their credit and improve their credit for sure. 100% of the time, there's never going to say, sorry, just not going to happen.
And as we see new algorithms, new models of the credit score introduced, for instance, the new FICO scores coming out, we'll make sure those are integrated within Credit Score Pro as well.
Yeah, so I think that's a good point too. This is a living, breathing thing, right? It's AI, it's learning. We have to put inputs in as things change so that it can learn those new inputs. But we're also building, we have our goals, like, you can go in there and you can select the goals to buy a house, for instance, or whatever that goal may be. But we're implementing additional goals like business credit, financial wealth building. So this system is becoming even more stronger in terms of you can pick multiple different goals. And like I had one client on, I think it was a loan officer on one of our lives one time, and he said, I can't see myself not being on here all the time because number one, I can select different goals, right? But number two, when I have an issue, if something does pop up, then I'm able to take care of that right away. And I think that's a valuable point of what Credit Score Pro can provide. Were you writing on our screen? What were we doing?
I didn't do that. The other thing too is this action plan will automatically now be sent to the users 3 days after their report is available. So that's a new feature that was just actually added today or yesterday.
Say that again.
The automatic sending of the plan. So now the plan is automatically being sent to users as of yesterday or today. If they forget to go in and look at it, it's now being emailed to them so we can make sure that users are staying in tune. So we'll continue to keep making usability of the platform easier and easier. Okay. Step number 4 is the re-import. So 40 days after the initial import of a new user, the initial credit report for that new user, a new credit report becomes available and automatically imported into the system. The reason it's 40 days is because we want to give time for those disputes to have been received by the bureaus, investigated, and then for updates to the report to have happened. It's going to compare the current report, so this new credit report, with that prior credit report from the last month. And then it's going to identify changes in the credit report and update disputes accordingly. If things are removed from the credit report, like that negative information that's been disputed, it's going to notify the consumer. They're going to see it on their progress screen as well. That way they know what's been removed and they see how their scores have now been positively impacted from not only the dispute side of things, but the following of the credit action plan. And then at the same time, the action plan is automatically going to be updated with the import of this new credit report as well.
And I just to follow up on that, I like to tell stories because they're fresh in mind and they just make this more powerful. But we talk about the re-import. I did a call with a client today when she was doing her re-import, and she got 12 negative things removed from her credit report, and her credit score went up. On one of them was 108, one was 74. I don't remember what the other one was, but they were all like really high numbers of improvement. And literally they were higher than the amount her loan officer needed her to have to be able to buy her home. So it's a really great experience. It was fast process for her, but she literally only used Credit Score Pro and the plans. That she didn't have my coaching with it. I was just there to support her to watch the process happen for her. And it was just really amazing. It was 2 months of work. So it was at her second re-import when we saw the 12 negative things removed and the score increase of the 108 points. So I just wanted to state that because it's really important that they come back in and see that re-import, because she actually was feeling, and I don't know where she got this from, but she was feeling like, oh, hopeless, right? And then when we saw that, she's like, oh, I can go buy my house. I'm like, yeah, you can go buy your house. So it's really, really important to go back and do the re-import and see the changes, and it inspires people to move forward and continue the process.
And I think one of the things we've failed to bring up at this point is when it comes to Credit Score Pro, the AI itself is free. We don't actually charge users for the AI. The only thing the users are paying for is access to their credit report. That's not something we can unfortunately get for free. So this is an option that's accessible to everyone, right? No longer does the consumer have to try to fit this massive price tag. Even lower priced credit repair is unaffordable for many people across the country, especially right now. We have a big affordability crisis. I think we all know that. Definitely don't need to go into that in detail. But credit doesn't care about income. Credit is empowerment to be able to change your entire life, the trajectory of where you're going. And we know most people, when they're trying to build wealth, they start with buying a home. But to get there, they have to have strong credit. So by being able to give everybody the opportunity to leverage credit so they can change their lives, we really hope Credit Score Pro is going to be that option that prevents people from being hopeless still. Because we just need more hope in the world. We need more people that can access an improvement in their lives. And part of why we wanted to include financial literacy is because we also don't want people to end up in the same situation. It's one thing to have the AI tools that can guide you and tell you, hey, do these things, it's going to help your score. But it's another thing to add the why behind it. And so with our credit coaching section within Credit Score Pro, we have 44 different modules. We'll continue to keep adding more as we learn more about what users want to learn more about. But for now, it's very focused on understanding how credit works, understanding what credit impacts as far as our lives in general, and then understanding how they can utilize credit positively. It goes over a lot of the myths that are all over social media. It is not focused on here are the laws and regulations and how to dispute credit. It's very much focused on empowering the consumer to understand how they can leverage credit effectively and understand the why between their score going up and down. It does also have a section to teach them how to read their credit report so they can have that knowledge base. The knowledge is truly empowerment. So we wanted to make sure we combine all of these tools and resources with that knowledge. So there really is more of an interactive component. And along with that, we do have a community as well. So because we have this online community, they're able to really drive the content that we add into this learning platform as well. So
Yeah, I just want to add into that. You talked a little bit, Ivory, about kind of the why behind why we created it. And I just want to kind of stress that, like, we came to the conclusion from working in the industry for so long, and both of us being credit experts, and seeing how much information out there was inaccurate, right? So we came together and we decided that software was the solution. And we wanted to meet people where they're at.
Right.
So that meaning financially, intellectually, right? So that we can provide hopefully a user software that's really easy to use so anybody can jump on there, that's very affordable. And we realized that, I have people tell me all the time, hey, Allie, go write a book about this. Like, more people need to know how to do their credit. You need to write a book. And I used to teach classes at universities about it because people want to know.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with all of that, it was all great. And I learned a lot and I enjoyed teaching. But the problem with all of that I realized when people would say, why doesn't more people know about you, is that I am literally only one person, right? So if I can create a software solution, Ivory's one person, there's only so many people that we can talk to in a day and help in a day, teach in a day, even if we had a big room full of people. But software can do the masses. And so we were like, how can we take our knowledge base, basically put this in a software and be able to give it to anyone and make it very affordable. And that's what we've done. And we're going to continue to improve upon it. But we're really excited about where we're at right now because it seems like magic, to be honest with you. We're actually able to help people who could not have gotten the help if they had to go the traditional means that we currently have available to us. So, and there's other softwares out there. I've seen softwares that do disputes, great. And I'm glad that they're there and they're able to provide that at a lower cost or whatever. But this is truly different. This is, let's do disputes. Yes. but this is above and beyond disputes. What else do we need to do? How can we change habits? How can we educate? How can we, empower people? And that's what Credit Score Pro is. And I just want to emphasize that because this is a big passion of me and Ivory's. And I know Ivory talked about it a little bit, but I don't think she really expressed the passion that we have behind this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just when it comes to what we're trying to do as well, we want it to spread like wildfire, right? We want that knowledge to be able to spread across the public because I'm also very sick of seeing people getting taken advantage of or seeing people spending thousands and thousands of dollars on bad debt, bad loans with 45% interest rates. They're stuck in that vicious cycle and they can't get out, and they're spending all of their money so they don't have access to other resources, right? So we're really hoping to be able to be that resource and to really change so many people's lives. I mean, that's the point of what we do. And yeah, so that's why we have Credit Score Pro. The great thing too is if you are a professional, we do have an option too for your clients. So there is tracking around your clients, so you know how they can transition or when they can transition, as far as to being ready to get the loan too. But yes, today we're very much focused just on the AI aspect, but we do lives every Thursday. One week it's for professionals, the opposite week we gear it towards consumers, and the main questions we're getting through our Facebook group or just through the users of Credit Score Pro, or just what we're seeing for trends on the internet when it comes to credit. And Ali, any closing remarks that you have for today before we start the Q&A?
Yes, I do actually. You just kind of started that process of saying what I wanted to say, which was basically, again, I'm only one person. Ivory's only one person. So we've created this software solution to help the masses. But the problem that we're now at is that we're only one person again to get the word out that it's available to help consumers. And so that's where you guys come into play, that we need your help to get the word out. We need you to spread the word that we have this available so that we can help more people, because if it's just left to me and Ivory to try to spread this, we can reach a lot, but we're not going to reach the people that really need it. And so that's where we need your help to spread this. So if you have any questions about the system, if you have any thoughts behind it or anything like that, or something you're seeing in the industry that you think would make this better, or we already have it and you want to ask questions about it, please, we're here for you. We want to make sure that not only is the consumer getting what they need and we're meeting them where they're at, but as a professional in the industry, are we missing something? We hope we're not, as a professional in the industry as well. I hope we're not, but we may be, because sometimes an outsider looking in can tell us something that may be pivotal to helping improve the situation for the clients. So please help us help them. I appreciate you guys. All right, are we at Q&A now?
Yes.
Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
And I apologize if it sounds terrible. I'm actually in Eatonville and we're getting blown around the campground here. It is crazy out here right now. How effective have you been how successful have you been with tax debt and and legal issues such as taxes and maybe or bankruptcy, things like that? The legal.
Okay. Do you mind if I answer this question, Ivory?
Sure. Yeah, go for it.
So our AI right now is designed to read the raw data credit report. So when we see the issues that are on the credit report, that's what we're targeting right now. So for instance, we will see a bankruptcy on a credit report, so that AI can target that bankruptcy. What we don't have in it, this is actually, I'm glad you even brought this up because this is something I'm developing right now. We will very soon be able to pull in public records. And with public records, because back in the past, and is it Corby? Is that your name, Corby? Am I saying it right?
No, perfect.
Okay. Yep. So obviously you're a mortgage advisor, so you know what I'm talking about when I say this. Back in the day, when we pulled a credit report, we saw those public records. And now we don't, right? It's on a new report. I think they call it the Sage report now or whatever, but it's literally, it's a draw from LexisNexis who's actually reporting that information to the credit bureaus, because credit bureaus themselves are not storing that information. Okay. So that leaves for AI, for instance, in our case with the credit monitoring, it leaves a blind spot, because I could get your credit score improved and everything looks great. You're ready to go buy a house. And then the mortgage lender pulls their credit report, gets that LexisNexis report and says, oh, shoot, we have tax lien, a judgment, and things like that.
Cavers.
Yeah, or cavers,
Right.
right. So absolutely. So now part of our system can kind of get some indication of cavers, right? But right now we don't actually have the cavers report. I'm not sure how well I'm going to be able to get that. I am working on it, but LexisNexis reports are very easy for me to get. So we're developing the part of the software that reads the LexisNexis report to provide that additional data. It is not there yet for me. So that's where, with Ivory and I as being credit specialists, if we have a situation where someone has those and it's a known fact, or we think they do, and they can do a support with us and we can locate that. And if they need like some more credit coaching aspects, that can be something that we can refer to help them with those. Okay. As of right now, until we get that software finished.
Oh, perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much for addressing that. If I could, just one follow-up question.
Sure.
These collection agencies that continue to resell the debt after the period of time, what is it, 3 years or 6 years that they have to collect, and if they can't, they have to remove, and then they just sell it to someone else, and that starts that process all over again. I mean, I've seen a couple of my clients like, this debt was from like 10 years ago, but it's still on my report because they keep selling it and restarting the process.
Yes. Ivory, do you want to speak on that one?
You go first and I'll chime in after. We're both going to have stuff to say.
So the AI would be able to locate that because it's going to look at the raw data and it's going to find out the actual date that it was originally, the original date of default. Okay, so it'll be able to figure that out, and then it's going to be able to easily get that off the credit report. So I don't think that for as far as our software, the AI, it's gonna be able to take care of that right away. But that is, unfortunately, that happens. There's a practice for sure.
Okay, well, you were way more straightforward with that.
Okay, there we go.
We'll take your answer. I was gonna take it a lot more detail about the laws. That's fine. Yeah. It really shouldn't be a problem with the AI. That's the really nice thing. So I'll explain on the traditional credit repair company side, we're going to approach it multiple different angles, and it's a more cumbersome process. So it really just simplifies everything. And now you also are taking the consumer out of having to go back and forth with that collection company, and removing the likelihood they're going to pay a collection they don't need to pay in the first place. So
I think that's a beautiful question, and in your answer, Ivory, where you're going to get more complex. That just shows kind of the nature of the AI. The consumer doesn't have to know all those laws, right?
Yeah.
So the AI does, and then it's gonna do its job, and that's a big part of the beauty, because who wants to read law? Who wants to try to figure that out?
Yeah, most consumers don't. And it gets confusing when you have just different requirements on different types of debt, different state requirements. I mean, the list goes on and on. So, well, I think we've lost a few people.
Ed had to leave, so he did.
And then I'm just gonna check the live on.
Okay.
I have to jump into another 3 o'clock, but I really I appreciate you guys' time. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
And,
Thank you so
maybe
much.
we can connect outside, and if there's anything I can do to assist with your platform, I'm more than glad to lend my time.
Oh,
we appreciate that
very much. Appreciate that very much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I think we'll go ahead and we'll call it for today. We are 3 minutes over anyway. So we'll go ahead and drop off for today. And as I had mentioned earlier, we will be back here next week for another live. So again, every Thursday we are here 2 p.m. Pacific. which is 5 p.m. Eastern. So join us next week. All of our lives are posted on our Facebook page or on Eventbrite, so you're welcome to register there if you want to be in the Zoom. Otherwise, feel free to watch them on Facebook and on YouTube. So we will see you next week.
Thank you guys. Appreciate you being here.